G'day guys, Mac with the Outer Circle, and today's episode, we're going to look at some silly heresy rules. Now, this video is not meant to be a whinge, it's meant to be a bit of fun entertainment, and we're going to look at some of the things that are genuinely confusing or a little bit frustrating about the game system. So let's have a bit of fun with it, don't take it too seriously. Now, to start us off, we're going to look at the Legiones Astartes. Specifically, this is referring to the actual legions themselves and their specific traits. We will go into generic units after that. So we'll start with the Raven Guard. And the Raven Guard are a legion that a lot of people say are really, really good on the tabletop. And they're really, really strong, and they've never lost games, and therefore they're good, and they're well written. These people fail to mention that they use very specific units to win their games. But I digress. The Raven Guard, well, their Legion trait gives Assault Marines and Dark Furies, which are two of the most iconic Raven Guard units and units you are encouraged to take, well, it gives them the ability to gain a reroll to wound of a 1 on the charge. However, their weapons already reroll all to wound rolls all of the time. Now, there's a tangential benefit here to some weapons on Dreadnoughts and Terminators, it should be noted for full clarity. Wordbearers. Dark Channeling, as a rule, grants Corrupted. However, there is no other way in the game to get Corrupted, so why does Dark Channeling exist? Just skip the step, go straight to Corrupted. Wordbearers. Diabolus and Burning War are not traitor only. More Wordbearers. Tainted Weapons are identical in stats to Phoenix weapons, but cost 10 points more. The Emperor's Children, like the above, Loyalists can take surgical augments on their Palatine Blades and Phoenix Terminators. Emperor's Children Maruskara Rite of War. It grants up to 3 units outflank and gives your whole army +1 movement until any reserves arrive. The kicker is, there is nothing saying you must put units into reserve, so enjoy having the White Scars Legion trait built into your Legion for free. The Thousand Suns. Their Legion trait is directly tied to the unit leader. If you kill the leader, such as with, a sniper, the unit loses their trait. This is the only Legion that can lose their trait. Thousand Suns Achaean Configuration Rite of War is designed as a Castellax Achaea themed Rite of War that doesn't require you to take any Achaea in it. The Thousand Suns, their Legion Force weapon cannot be taken by their Legion HQs. The World Eaters, their Legion weapon cannot be taken by command squads or Terminators. World Eaters again. Berserker's rule grants Ravening Madman and +1 attack. Why not just have the Ravening Madman grant the attack and just give the Berserker's rule step? This is just like the Wordbearer's rule all over again. World Eaters, Carteret Weapons, includes a weapon which will wound any unit in the game on a 4+ and force invulnerable save only.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
2 of these swords count as a single specialist weapon, and when used alongside another specialist weapon, like a Thunder Hammer, it confers +1 attack, as you hold the 3 weapons in your 2 hands. There are apparently also 3 other Carteret weapons. Legends speak of them, but no players have witnessed them. Like the Sasquatch of the Horus Heresy, there is only grainy footage of them. World Eaters, Ravening Madman rule. You can hit enemies on your own weapon skill. They fight against you at theirs, or you can trade it all in for what's in this box.
Or you can trade it all in for what's in this box.
The box! The box!
The Iron Warriors. They specialise in taking down vehicles and fortifications. This is symbolic of the fact that they can spot weak spots and exploit them. In the game, their ability to precisely aim is best represented not by improving their aim, by improving the strength of their ranged weapons. However, this logic cannot be exploited against enemy infantry, whose weak spots are unknown to the sons of Perturabo. The Salamanders. Their Legion trait makes the roll to wound you, with only Flame, Melter, Plasma and Volkite, wound you on a 1 worse dice roll. So 4s to wound become 5s against Salamanders. But the weapons retain their strength, and so weapons like melters, well, they instantly kill the salamanders. Meanwhile, all Iron Hands units, all of the time, against all shooting weapons in the game, lower the strength of the hit by a flat -1, so are immune to instant death from all weapons under strength 9. Iron Hands are better at dealing with flame weapons than the Legion from a volcano world genetically made to take on fire.
What's going on? What the fuck did I do wrong? Tell me!
Imperial Fists get 3 Rites of War, Dark Angels get 6, and the Ultramarines get only 1. Rel'Daran, first captain of the Blood Angels, can use any Loyalist Legion Warlord trait except for Dark Angels ones, or, Blood Angels ones? Mechanicum as a whole have to ally in their basic troops option. The Imperium, Nemesis units for Custodians. These units are trained especially to fight against their sworn nemesis. Anyone with a stat of 5 pretty much anywhere is their nemesis, so if you fight them, just pretend to be a little bit weaker and give them the old unlimited power.
I'm too weak. Don't kill me.
Assassins can barely fight Marines. Apparently, they're also told to go off and fight Horus.
Fuck.
The Solar Auxilia as a whole, they make up for their weakness in comparison to the Legiones Astartes by being able to field huge units of tanks. However, none of their weapons can reliably kill Space Marines, especially heavy Space Marines. Solar Auxilia with axes cost more than Space Marines. Demons of the Ruinstorm and cults/militia. Well, Thanos over at Games Workshop HQ snapped his fingers, they turned to dust. Nobody seems to have found a way to snap them back as of recording. Now some bizarre wording in the basic rules. Bitter duty and similar rules such as corrupted. No unit which has this rule can be joined by a unit which does not also have this rule. However, independent characters don't get joined by units, they do the joining. Therefore, a Moritat can join a tactical squad despite them lacking bitter duty. But now, the unit has bitter duty in it, so cannot be joined by any other unit, such as an apothecary or another independent character. Triple shooting reaction. This one speaks for itself, the ability to only shoot your weapons once in your own turn, but firing them 3 times in the other person's turn with the same unit. Rites of War which move units to troops or grant line. It grants it to some units, or it doesn't. It grants it to some models, or it doesn't. This right grants Contempt as line, but only in the first 2 squads. The others cannot figure out how to hold ground. On the other hand, this right grants all units with Hot Pants line. It really depends on if the rider took their meds that day or not, and, if not, which personality wrote the rules.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Melter Guns. Tactical support squad with these is more expensive than a Legion heavy support squad with multi-melters. They have double the range, and, well, apparently that's worth less than a unit being a niche troops choice which doesn't score and has less survivability. Tech Marines. A repair is performed in place of shooting a weapon. There is no cap on this, only a cap on your ability to shoot. Therefore, if you place the Tech Marine on a bike, he gains firing protocols of 2, so may perform 2 repairs. Instead, he can now fire twice, and he can replace each of those with a repair. My personal favourite rule now, the Storm Durkin. Like the food Turducken, which is a turkey stuffed with a chicken, stuffed with a duck, it's as American as obesity, and this one still hasn't been FAQ'd, which is funny as I pointed it out on literally day 1 of Heresy 2.0. A Stormbird has an auxiliary vehicle bay which can transport a vehicle with up to 4 hull points. This is the only criteria. So, mount a Fire Raptor in it, and laugh. Better yet, use a Thunderhawk transporter which has 2 bays, so put 2 Storm Eagles in it and then load up the Storm Eagles full of infantry, and it will unload like one of those Russian dolls onto the battlefield.
What the fuck is this piece of shit?
Bulky units. Bikes are not bulky. Assault marines, notably much smaller than bikes, are bulky. Tarantula guns. They are armed with 2 guns in the Legion PDF, but can only fire 1. That then gets updated in FAQ to fire 2. Then the Mechanicum PDF releases with the same mistake. Then it gets FAQ'd and fixed. Then the Solar Auxilia PDF is released. This one I don't think has been fixed yet. So good to see that cut-paste is working out well for everyone. Vindicators. They shoot tickles and rainbows, according to Leadham, and he's right. I actually saw a small child crying on the street the other day, and they were accidentally struck by a stray Vindicator shell and were instantly comforted. A cuddly bear coalesced into being and rocked the child gently to sleep. This is, of course, a true story. All Baneblade variants. They are worse on every single stat line than the equivalent Legion tanks, such as the Fellblade and Felshian, but they cost hundreds of points more. It's not rules, but I felt I owed it to those who bought them to bring it up. The Charybdis, on release, had no ability to deep strike. It has since been FAQ'd, thank God, but it deserves mention as they thought that was acceptable on release. The Legion Sparta Attack Bike. Everything about this unit screams, I write rules but don't play the game or understand how to do my job, and a monkey fucking a football could do it better. Land speeders, jet bikes, and anything with the grav subtype. Cannot use cover. Cannot use shrouded. This is rational because they float above these objects. However, they cannot move over the top of units because they do not now float. This is because the writers are irrational. Land speeders. A coveted second mention on the list for having 2 crew but 1 bolt pistol and 1 close combat weapon between them. Cue enemy at the gates.
When the one with a rifle gets killed, the one who is following picks up the rifle and shoots!
Legion breaches can be upgraded to have chain bayonets. Chain bayonets are 2-handed weapons and cannot be used alongside the shield. Still, you can just drop the shield on the ground and fight like a tactical marine, which is exactly what I think of when I think shield wall. Nemesis bolt guns. A bolt gun, we guess it's the Recon Squad one, but it's never been clarified. In any case, the same size round, same size magazine as a normal bolt gun, but apparently a stellinium penetrator propelled by powdered Angron Rage, capable of travelling 3 times the distance, picking out a specific target and turning them into pink mist. Night Fight. Roll a 2+ at the start of any mission, and it's Night Fight. Apparently, nobody knows how to fight during the day, and Marines with all those sensors and gadgets and special visors get scared by it too. Artillery. As an aside to Nemesis weapons, artillery shells the size of Marines have less penetrating power than the bullets of a Nemesis bolt gun, as they are made of Play-Doh and filled with the powdered love of Vulcan. Unit types and subtypes. The old rules were so convoluted they had to be streamlined by introducing a different movement value on every single unit in the game, and then a type, a subtype, or multiple types and subtypes. Oh, this unit is cavalry. Wait, it's also anti-grav cavalry. Wait, it's also heavy anti-grav cavalry. Wait, it's melee weapons. Page 177 of the rulebook gave us the statement. However, if a model has 2 or more melee weapons, they gain +1 attack when fighting in the sub-phase. So, if you have a 2-handed weapon, it could confer a second attack. But thankfully, this is fixed in a throwaway line 7 pages later, which refers to models engaged with 2 single-handed weapons gain +1 attack. Where am I heading with this? Well, 7 pages in a single line that's easily overlooked later? as it's a subparagraph on having more than 2 close combat weapons, utterly changes the context of an earlier entry, and it's confusing shit like this in the rules that catches players out. Vehicle squadrons. They're identical to the last edition. At least that's what I would have liked to have said, as that would have been a great place to start. However, somebody saw the rules and said, I think I can make this worse. And now, when a vehicle gets immobilized, the entire unit stops and stays nearby out of sympathy. Meanwhile, dreadnought talons, which functionally operate the same way, may move in any direction they like, any time they like, and target any unit they like. Vehicles and defensive fire. A tank getting charged can see the unit and fire at them, with flamers, bolt guns, cannons, you name it. Wait a minute, don't name it, because if it's a blast, or the cannon is just a bit too strong, it won't fire it, in order to give the enemy a fair chance. Literally every other unit in the game can overwatch with everything they have, even multi-shot strength 10 las cannons, they do exist, but we draw the line at a 70-ton tank being able to fire their weapons. A las cannon turret on a Predator tank clearly cannot move at the same speed as the identical autocannon turret on the same tank. The Whirlwind Scorpius. It fires very small rockets, especially in comparison to artillery, and when the vehicle stays still, it becomes even more deadly. This is very similar to real life, because when I move and fire with a rifle in real life, my bullets bounce off the cardboard targets, but the minute I stand still, my rounds punch through Leopard tanks, because the penetration of a rocket is directly proportional to the recent movement of the firing unit, and as we all know, no aircraft ever fired a missile on the move. Missions. The writers made the effort to place missions with objectives into the game. However, they were working on this section after the Games Workshop Christmas party, and unfortunately, partway through writing the missions they passed out, slumped over onto the keyboard and made all but one mission able to be accomplished by simply eliminating the enemy. They also have one long sentence which was just the word gravis repeating for 200 pages when they passed out on the keyboard holding down the paste button. This was picked up in editing, however, and mostly removed. +1, -1. I've noticed that this edition of Streamlined Game seems to have fallen back into the trend which is slowly being written out of games like Age of Sigmar, which is a bit odd because it's still really strong in 40k, and that trend is modifying dice values. This is a constant thing in Heresy, with pluses and minuses that often simply cancel out and turn a situation back to being vanilla. Want an example? My unit causes fear. That's -1 leadership to your unit. Yeah? Well, my unit has +1 leadership from my warlord trait. Oh yeah? Well, it's night fighting, so take another -1. Yeah? Well, you unveiled my trap card. I have night vision and ignore the effects of night fighting rule, negating the -1 leadership penalty. What does all this mean? It means that my leadership 8 unit stays leadership 8, but we went through 4 rules along the way to find out.
I am your father's brother's nephew's cousin's former roommate.
What's that make us?
Absolutely nothing.
Horus Heresy is a game about the siege of the galaxy, of desperate defences, and culminates in the defence of Terra itself. This is, of course, very well represented on the tabletop by being able to take a single defensive fortification. And you're asked to strongly consider buying the bunker from StarCraft.
What a goofy looking fuck he was.
Now, this last one, it isn't a game rule, but a rule of thumb. If you talk your friend into playing the game with you, most of the things you'll recommend are going to be out of stock, apart from when they first get released. If they didn't sell out before hitting the shelves because a scalper on eBay was somehow able to defeat Games Workshop's security system and bought all of the copies before you could and is now listing them for 6 times the price. Anyway, this is a list of funny little quirks in Heresy 2.0 and is by no means comprehensive, but I think we had a bit of a fun time with it, and yeah, hope you all enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you all on the next one.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.